If the close grip bench press failed to build your triceps, then start doing them in this specific way. First and most important tip, stop doing a powerlifter close grip bench, which is usually at most shoulder width apart, but sometimes they would even call this a close grip. For bodybuilding, that's a no-no. And oftentimes you think you're using the narrowest grip because you're basing it off the knurling. And let me tell you, on many powerlifting bars, it's spaced out a little bit more so that you don't scrape your shins as much on the deadlift. If you're losing out 2 fingers that would be present on those cheaper bars, then you can see that you're not using the narrowest grip possible. In fact, how about we stop looking at the texture of the bar and instead base it off your anthropometry. So I'm a shorter guy with a pretty good build for benching, and I'm also wide. So if I just raise my arms up like this, you can see where they end up. And that's basically thumb away's distance from the smooths. So this would be my normal grip bench press, which is already inside the rings. So technically I can go online and say, hey guys, I did a 405 close grip bench, but look at my forearms, how vertical they are. So that doesn't work. And if I put a thumb on the innermost part of the knurling, yeah, that's looking a lot narrower, but to be honest, it resembles my normal push-up grip. So it is closer. You are biasing the triceps more, 100%, but look at the arm bend. It's not going as low as it could be. Now, logically, I'm not telling anyone to do a close grip bench press like this because you would destroy your wrist. So you can't do a diamond push-up, but know that if it's possible to do it on the floor, and that is the best way to build the triceps, or at least going narrower than shoulder width, then why are you then not assuming that position on a bench press? Because let me tell you something, bodybuilders use a real close grip. So here's my little secret. Instead of doing thumb away from the smooths or being right on the edge of the knurling, instead, you'll want to put 1 to 2 fingers in the smooth, okay? You're still gonna have a grip from the side. So as long as some fingers are on the rough part, then you're good. Alternatively, you could do thumb away, but on this part of the knurling. So now it's really pinky on the knurling. And if you look at this, now we have a proper close grip bench press. Look at that arm angle. And I feel my triceps so much more. This is how Kevin Levrone and many old school bodybuilders did their close grip bench. So don't overthink this, but for most of you, 1 finger in the smooths is that perfect grip. 2 is if you're a little bit narrower. And 3, I mean, you probably don't have to do that because look at my thumbs. So I would say 2 fingers in the smooths is the real close grip bench press. This right here, thumb on the edge, that's not a close grip bench. Okay, you see the difference? Like, if I do 2 fingers in the smooths, look at my arms. That's how they're supposed to look like, facing in. So it's not diamond, that wouldn't work with a barbell, but it's the closest thing to it. And logically, this is what you would do on the inner part of an easy bar. You know that famous superset skull crusher into close grip bench? Well, how come the close grip bench is like this instead of the wide part of the easy bar? Wouldn't this be equivalent to that powerlifter close grip bench? Yet I've never seen a bodybuilder do that. They're always on the inner portion. That should tell you the entire story. So always compare to what bodybuilders and calisthenics athletes are doing. That's how you build triceps from compound movements. You want narrow grips, as in narrower than shoulder width apart. Shoulder width is the starting point, after which you narrow it just a little bit. 1 to 2 fingers, or use a close easy bar. Enjoy. Secondly, you still want to set up tight like a normal bench, but instead of bringing the bar down to your sternum, which is what you would do for a powerlifting style close grip bench, again, stop and do something like a JM press. Straight vertical line, but you're not tilting the forearm back. So rather than being on the nipple line, bring it somewhere to your mid-chest, but try to keep the elbows a little bit in. So you got that close grip, elbows are in, you're bringing it higher up on the chest. Holy moly. Like I'm a torso down and lifter, guys. And I feel this all in my triceps. Not too back, or else it really is a jam. Not too low. As if it is a Smith machine. So elbows in, and then spread the bar apart. You're getting tight in a different way. You're screwing in with the elbows and out with the wrists. Try it. You've never felt your triceps this much before on a close grip bench. The spreading apart is a resultant. So it's like doing a tape press. So that's what's giving you the extra triceps activation. Elbows in, same thing. And then when you lower it higher up, that gives you that jam press effect. But it's not a skull crusher hybrid, like it's a pure press. So that's what biases the tris the most. And it's very technical because I can flare my arms out and bring the bar low like this. And look how easy that is. That's still mostly chest. But when you use every tip that I just showed you, that's the difference. So it might take you a couple workouts to get used to it, but as long as you slow down that tempo, that'll keep everything locked in. So definitely drop the weight by a significant amount. If you've been doing a 225 bench, I would even start at 135, or at most 185. But if you try matching your regular loads, your 10 rep max might not even be your 5 rep max. And that's okay. It's proof that your triceps are becoming such a limiting factor that the primary movers of the bench, being the pecs, still cannot help you out in this position. All right, guys, last tip, and this one's important. Depending how long your arms are, if you use finger in the smooths, it could be too much range of motion, such that the arm band is so low that you're stretching the delts more. So for anyone who has a deadlifter's build, not your normal guys, but I'm talking about my orangutan supporters. I'm jealous of you, by the way, because that gives you a better stretch on the pecs, getting more out of less weight. Trust is an advantage for hypertrophy, but for you, yes, you might want to do partial repetitions, but not manual partials. You want standardized range of motion, and this is where pins come into play. Now, I could have recommended my straps behind me or my bench block, but chances are you don't do that, right? You go to a gym where it's already preset, or that's what you have to work with. So fine, I'm gonna work with you. So the benefit now is that you can get the same range of motion as me. Same form tip, elbows in, spread the bar apart, lower in a straight line, slow, 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 boom. You're right above the chest. 2 inches tops. And even if you don't have shorter arms, this is still putting tension on the tris. Because it's really that mid to top range where you're getting the most emphasis anyway. That's why a lot of geared powerlifters have massive triceps. They often do bands, chains, and board presses. You're doing a mini extension. But in this case, if you look at the total bar distance, it's the same as if you were to do a normal bench press. Speaking of which, I do want to give powerlifters credit here. It's not their version of the close grip bench that got them big triceps. It's the partials and accommodating resistance. The fact that those who use a bench shirt train that lockout strength like it's their life. And so we can mimic that in a bodybuilding context. And my favorite for this is not to go overboard with the bands or chains, but use a very small amount. This way, it gives you a mini Smith machine effect, so it's gonna be easier to have a straight up and down vertical bar path, but you're also correcting the strength curve ever so slightly, because at the top, you could lock out more. And that's why we board press about 15 pounds more than our flat bench. Just to say, when I did 405 a month before, I also did 405 off a half board. So if using a 1 to 2 inch board, or your pins are slightly elevated, that's definitely more triceps. And then if you throw on the chains, I mean, it's game over. That is a bodybuilding exercise that also has lockout benefits. So whether you struggle at the top of your benching or you just want bigger arms, this is how you should do it. So as you can see, the chains are going to lower, maintain that position, stops, boom. It's really stable. And it's all triceps. Even 135 and a bit of chain. Whoa! See what I'm saying? Even if this may not be the best raw benching accessory, it'll do a whole bunch for your tricep strength. And even elbow conditioning, if you ask me. So overload those weights, do the close grip bench press correctly, mixing in some elements of the bodybuilding and powerlifting world to get the best of all worlds. So enjoy building that lateral and medial head. Compound movements are actually best here. The long head, that's where you need some isolation, but to get some good mass going on and just general strength carryover, the close grip bench is a time-proven builder for a good reason.